Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how we humans often trap ourselves and what would we be willing to do in order to free ourselves from those binds. Whether it's a toxic relationship, a job we hate, financial problems, or whatever shackles may be binding us. Now, I watch a lot of nature shows and it got me to thinking. I was watching a show that talked about how inhumane leg hold traps are. You know, the ones that have the steel jaws that clamp down on an animal's leg and foot? They talked about how wolves that get ensnared will often chew their own leg off to get out of that trap. And that got me to thinking. It got me thinking about survival. What would I be willing to do in order to get out of a trap? Wolves are known to be smart animals. Not smart enough to know that they're going to bleed out by chewing their leg off, but intelligent enough to know when they're vulnerable and in danger. An ensnared wolf knows that it can't defend itself. It can't run or hide. It's vulnerable to predators and the elements. It knows it's a sitting duck as long as it's tethered to that chain. Now, the wolf doesn't know specifically what's happening, but it does know that it's trapped and tethered to that piece of metal. Unlike most humans, animals are in tune with their instincts, and those instincts are there to best ensure their survival and the propagation of the species. This survival instinct is so strong that the wolf will actually chew its own leg off just for the chance of survival. It reminds me of that true story about the rock climber that got his arm trapped after a boulder rolled down and pinned him. He knew nobody was around. It was a remote hiking area. He couldn't count on a rescue or another hiker coming across him for help. So he did what he was forced to do, and he did the unthinkable. With no other options, he spent hours cutting off his own arm with a 4-inch pocket knife. The movie's called 127 Hours, and while it's powerful and gripping, I also found it a bit hard to watch. But it did make me really think, what would I be willing to do to save my own life given the similar circumstances? Now, hopefully none of us are ever going to find ourselves in a situation like that, but it is worth a pause for thought. So anyway, back to the wolf. I know what some of you are thinking. Well, what was the point? The wolf died anyway from bleeding out. Yeah, but at least it gave itself a chance rather than die a long, agonizing, certain death. Dying in excruciating pain, tethered to a metal trap, freezing to death, waiting to be preyed upon. At least it tasted a few minutes of freedom and possibility before it bled out. At the very least, its suffering ended in minutes rather than hours or days if it had remained tethered to the trap. So why am I talking about this? Well, because many people feel trapped in situations, lifestyles, or relationships that no longer serve them. Perhaps they have outgrown it, or worse yet, maybe the situation has actually become toxic. People stay in these situations for countless reasons. I'm not here to judge or explore that side of the issue since the reasons vary as much as person to person, and the reasons are too vast to list. At the end of the day, we're all walking our own path and doing what we feel is best or what we're comfortable with. I'm just trying to open up a discussion and hopefully offer some sort of perspective that might help someone, whether they're working on an exit strategy or just getting the much needed help and support that would ease their pain and suffering. Now, right off the bat, yes, it's going to be difficult to exit these entanglements. It's probably going to involve some pain and sacrifice. Fortunately, not as much pain and suffering as chewing one's leg off or cutting your arm off with a pocket knife, but it's going to be hard for many reasons. You know, perhaps people are concerned about their well-being or the well-being of their children. Maybe family or social pressures keep them tethered, or religious beliefs, the fear of being alone or facing the unknown. Maybe they have a fear of starting over or losing what they have. Maybe it's as simple as the old adage, it's better to deal with the devil you know than the devil you don't. In other words, most people would prefer to deal with what they know rather than face the unknown, even if the unknown offers a possibility for a better life. All I'm saying is that sometimes when things get really bad and you're unhappy or unfulfilled, it's worth exploring some ideas, even if it's just in your head. At least you're giving yourself a chance for a better life. I think one of the biggest fears that keeps people stuck is the fear of being alone. And as far as that's concerned, I will say this: at least when you're alone, it's peaceful and you can have your own life back. I know a lot of people who are afraid of losing their lifestyle, losing what they have. I once knew a guy who seemed to have it made. Partner for a major law firm, very well respected in his field, made tons of money, beautiful home, beautiful family, lived in an exclusive community. And one day he told me about his dream to open a golf store. And I said, well, why don't you do it? I mean, obviously he had the money to do it. Obviously he was very passionate about this dream. And the simple answer was he just didn't want to lose his lifestyle. He didn't want to lose what he had. I guess he decided he'd rather spend the next 20 years doing something he didn't like, just counting the days and dollars until he was able to break free, trapped in a lifestyle he wasn't willing to let go of, even for the dream of doing something he actually had a passion for. Much the same, I've known plenty of people that stay in unhappy relationships because they just don't want to lose what they have. So why don't we humans seem to value our life the same way that the wolf does? Why do we allow ourselves to stay trapped in jobs we hate, relationships that aren't working? Well, maybe we can learn something from our closest relative, the primate. I heard this story about 30 years ago about a primitive Amazonian tribe that hunted monkeys in the rainforest for food. How did they capture them? Simple. They made a large clay pot with a mouth opening that was just big enough for the little monkey to squeeze his hand in. Inside the jug, the hunters placed a piece of fruit or a nut. Then they put these clay pots around trees that they believed had monkeys in them. Then the tribal people would, take cover and hide in the distance. The monkeys would smell the fruit or nut and cautiously come down the tree to investigate the clay pot. The monkey would reach in to grab their prize, but the monkey's fist, clenching the nut, would be too large to extract from the jug. The size and weight of the jug prevented the monkey from escaping up the tree. As the hunters rushed in with their spears and clubs to dispatch the monkey still refused to let go of his prize. All he had to do to save his life was just let go of the nut. Now, the prize is worth nothing if you can't enjoy it. These monkeys lost their lives and didn't even get to enjoy the fruit or nut that they were unwilling to let go of. Just like many people who seem to have it all. They've got the nice house, the nice car, it all looks good on social media. But if they're sharing that life with a toxic person, or they're working a job that they absolutely hate in order to pay for that lifestyle, then I question how much they're even enjoying it. So again, what's the point? What are you really losing? I watched this show and I realized that we humans are just as easy to trap. Maybe not with a clay pot and a piece of fruit, but much like the monkey, we trap ourselves, whether it's with our thoughts and beliefs or with material goods. What I found so fascinating about comparing and contrasting the trapped monkey and the trapped wolf is that monkeys are said to be much smarter than wolves. But understand that it takes a steel trap to physically catch a wolf, a mechanical trap to catch a wolf. And all it took to catch a monkey was a clay jug and a nut. The monkey trapped itself. It just refuses to let go of that nut. Much the same, psychology research has shown that most people are much more motivated to avoid loss than they are motivated to pursue gain. People seem so preoccupied with losing something that they never bother to ask, what is it costing them? Think about it. Ponder these ideas. If you or somebody you know is trapped, yeah, it's going to be hard to exit. It's going to be painful, financially, emotionally, socially, in some way, shape, or form. It's probably even going to be exhausting and uncomfortable and scary. But you have to ask yourself if you are going to hold on to that nut. Or are you going to be like the wolf and chew your leg off if you have to, just to taste that moment of freedom and happiness again? It's something to think about. So if you've gotten this far, please take a moment to like and subscribe. And as always, new content drops every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Thank you for joining me and have a great day.